Most of you probably know that upfitters these days, those like Pleasure Way or Winnebago, are no longer including a spare tire with the rig. Now, some of us who like to go maybe a little bit more off-road, we like to carry a spare tire, and we thought we were stuck with the option of either having a spare or carrying our fat-tired e-bikes, and we couldn't do both. But when we went up to the Pleasure Way Rally in Oregon this year, we met Mark, who I featured in a recent video, and he had a spare tire on a rack that hung from the hinge of his rear door. And when we measured it, it looked like it would work in conjunction with the Hollywood rack that we hold our fat-tired Rad Minis on. And so we did a little bit of research and found that Agile Offroad offers a similar rack. We booked an appointment and we headed off to Santee. Agile had quite a few vans in the shop waiting for some kind of an upgrade. And fortunately, one of those people that had dropped off their van was picking it up. And this woman she'd had this rig for a month. It was a Winnebago Revell, I think is how they pronounce it. And she was having an extra tank put on, an extra gas tank. And so I inquired about the particulars about the tank, and John, one of the owners, gave me a little bit of a tour of the tank.
You added to hers a tank.
So she has a fuel tank, and she can control it from here. So we can turn on her fuel system. This is her fuel system, and then we can take fuel from this tank, from the factory tank here, and we can turn this on. You can turn it on.
How many gallons is it?
26. Or no, 28.
The extra
Yeah.
28.
Extra is 28.
You don't worry about exceeding the maximum cargo. What do they call that?
The gross vehicle weight?
Yeah.
No, because the gross vehicle weight on this model is 9,050 pounds on the new ones. So they changed the gross vehicle weight, probably just because they went to the 7-speed transmission. So on the older models, the 2018s and down, it was 8,550, something like that. And the new one's 9,050. So they added 500 more pounds to the gross vehicle weight. And honestly, we've never had an issue before.
Whether it's a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder? Because I read online.
It might be a little bit of variance. I don't know off the hand, but it might be a little bit.
The guy from Pleasure Way said it was 11,000 with the.
That's your with towing. That's with the towing on it. So those rates will change.
This is complicated.
Yeah. So usually, yeah. So, but if you this is a fueling station here. So you turn. Let's see if this will.
So this more than doubles her capacity.
Yes. Yeah. So you turn on the fuel station and you can see that she's actually got a little bit of fuel in the back. We've already pumped it back there.
Gotcha.
But on demand, we can take fuel from the front tank and pump it into the back tank, or vice versa. We can take fuel from the rear tank and pump it into the front. And whenever you're adding to it, you add through here. So you just want to know okay.
So wait, so this is the difference between this van and
So
ours.
this is the 2019. This is actually a 2020 Rebel by Winnebago, but it's on a 2019 chassis.
Right.
Okay, and so the way that you can tell, a real simple way to see the new one from the rear is the emblem is in the metal, where on the 2018 and older, it's up here in the glass. Okay, so real easy to spot. But one of the main differences became standard on them was they went to a simpler hinge. So this hinge pivots with the door. It doesn't do a complex operation, but you can't open the door. The furthest you can open up the door is right to here. Okay, so the one that has the more complicated hinge allows you to pivot it all the way around. But not everybody uses that anyways. We find that most people just do it to this. So when you order a Sprinter from Mercedes, this is the new standard. The previous years of the 2018s and the olders, the standard was the bigger swing.
How does that complicate then someone who wants to add
The spare?
spare tire?
So when you're attaching to this point here, and we're attaching to mount the spare, and when you attach to here, all we have to do is attach to here, and it can be fixed. So the rack is in the same plane as the door. When you see on the other one, you'll see this actually rotates at a different pattern than the door, so you have to have an idler arm on it.
Gotcha.
And you'll see that on the other rack.
Okay.
So.
It was also funny that this woman and I kind of got into a conversation about how wimpy the horn is on the Mercedes Sprinter van. And if any of you have one, you know what I'm talking about. So at the last minute, I think she decided to have a new horn installed, and they let me videotape that and show you what that entails.
So this is basically something that Mercedes did not change in all the upgrades they did.
No, they didn't. No, it's still a wimpy horn.
Yeah, wimpy horn.
So this is a factory 2019.
What does the horn cost?
It's like about $160, parts and labor installed. Yeah.
Why it's difficult for people to do this.
So the most difficult part is actually removing the grill. It's kind of clipped in, and it's a little tricky to get out, and you want to be careful not to break it. So right now, as long as Jay-Z doesn't break it, we'll be okay. But there's some fasteners along the top edge, which you can see, they're just like screws, undo those. Yeah. And then along the bottom, you have to go down there and pinch it just right, and it pops out.
But if you break it, you replace it.
Yeah.
You just take these T-screws out.
Mm-hmm.
They go right here.
And this is a bracket that comes with the horn, or?
Yeah, it's a horn bracket
Okay.
that we make.
Oh, you guys make it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to fit behind here.
No, it's
Stop
made
it.
right here.
Spray coated.
So in the 2019 and newer, you don't have to drill to mount the bracket. So you just undo this little piece here. This is actually has the radar for the active cruise control in it. And you just undo those two screws, put this bracket in, and then the horns will bolt to those two tabs, and then we'll tie into the factory horn.
Oh. It's probably more expensive to install? 'Cause you said-
You know, to be honest with you, we charge the same price.
Okay.
For the guys, it's pretty easy, but you do have to drill 2 holes this direction. It's a little bit different. There's an opening here. You can access it.
Okay. What other
So-
changes that you see, because we didn't know anything about the hinge thing, other than the console, because that changed significantly. What do you see that Mercedes?
The engine's in the same. There's a lot more room inside the engine compartment, so we can still mount like the onboard air here. Excuse me. We can mount the onboard air over there on that side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so we have room over there, and this allows us to keep the battery if they have the auxiliary battery here,
Do they
or
have
we
one
can
in
put
here?
something in. No, this one's
There's
doesn't.
no box either for
There's
it.
no box, no. So on these, they don't come with, this one has no battery and no box.
Now, you said they took the spare tire out of this rig
Yeah,
because
so,
of weight.
yeah, because of weight, yeah. So manufacturers have I don't know exactly what it's called, but I think they call it a curb weight.
Yeah.
It has to be delivered at a certain curb weight, and I think it's 7,200 pounds, I believe. It's right in that neighborhood.
Okay.
So to get it to curb weight, they actually remove the spare.
But you can still add an extra tank.
Yeah. Well,
Because
yeah, but that's
that's part
because
of
the
their-
manufacturer has to meet that standard. We don't.
As a master upfitter.
Yes, yeah. Because the end user is actually going to then add weight to it, right? So they need to make sure that there's additional weight capacity in there. Some of the heavy vans. Oh yeah,
I bet.
yeah. We've seen some well over GVW.
Well, they're dangerously heavy.
Dangerously heavy. But we fixed that. We've our suspension.
Oh, you're supposed
Yeah.
basically.
That's why they're here.
Yeah, that's why we're here, really.
Yeah. So we'll build a spring that's capable of holding the weight, but it doesn't meet the standard. But we can build a spring that can hold a bunch of weight. Kind of how we zip tie all that,
Oh, okay.
you know?
You guys are downtown.
Yeah.
Nice work. Okay. Put her back together, and then you can blow the horn for me.
And do I have to be here to hear it?
Or give that to me. Trust you. Oh, shit.
Now, when we booked the appointment, they said it would take, they pretty much tell you it's going to take all day. although we got there before 8, and we were prepared to either hang out there or take our e-bikes and ride a couple miles down to where the train, the trolley, the San Diego trolley, it's the end of the line, and then kind of tooled around that area to kind of see what Santee was all about. So if you are going to Agile and you're looking for something to do, you can either take an Uber or Lyft or a taxi or something just a couple miles down the road, and you could either hop on the San Diego trolley and go all the way downtown and spend the day there, or you could do what we did, which was try to find some cycling trails. And we ended up at a bike shop where I got a new mirror for my bicycle. The two projects that we wanted Agile to do, well, first was the spare tire holder, and the second one was an air compressor that fits into the engine compartment of the Mercedes.
Now, you're on both of us this time, right?
Yeah.
We are back at Agile Offroad, and John, I remember your name this time. John is going to show us how our new air compressor works and tell us what it's for.
Okay. So we do an onboard air system that's primarily for airing up the tires on the vehicle, so you can air down when you go off-road and then air back up. You can also use it for inflating rafts and tubes and things like that. And what we do on a lot of the Sprinters, they don't have the factory auxiliary battery in it, and on this, on your Pleasure Way, it doesn't. So we make a custom plate. It mounts in here, and it allows us to put in the Air-B twin compressor. And I believe this is close to 7 CFM as far as a compressor. It's an on-demand, it's air on-demand compressor. And then we also use a 3/8 DOT line. Like this here, this end swivels, that's correct. So we kind of do a lot better quality ends on everything. So you got to turn the system on. For the pump to be on, in the key in the on position, and then here's your switch. We actually utilize a factory switch, and that will come on with the red light. That means it's on. This will also be backlit when you have your lights on. Okay, not that you're going to use it at night, but get the idea. Okay, but that's a factory Mercedes switch, and the key in the on position. So right now it's on, and since it's air on demand, as soon as this is going to want to fill up the air in here, the pump's going to come on. Okay, so now it's shut off because it's now pressurized it, and when you want to go air up your tire, let's go here. And we supply you a line, and then this has a special fitting. There's no gauge on it. You don't want to have a gauge down it. You don't want to be sitting down here holding this while you're airing up. So let's say you've aired down to 25 PSI and you want to air up to 50. You just take this and clip it on, and you can walk away from it. And at this point, if you've aired it up a few times before, from say 24 to 50 PSI, it might take less than 2 minutes. So just take your iPhone, set it for 2 minutes, and you can walk away. Once your iPhone goes off, come back, unclip it, go to the next tire, and then you can set this with the tire pressure gauge. Okay? So there's a fitting right up here where you hook this up, and the front one's underneath the dash, or excuse me, underneath the hood. And to disconnect, you want to hang onto the hose, push this down, and then this little rubber connector goes over. That's just to keep debris out. But to hook it up, all you have to do is push this on. You don't need to worry about pushing that down. It's already depressed down. Right. Okay, and then this bracket here, we actually use a chromoly steel bracket so it won't fatigue over time. Okay, and then there's one in the back. I think yours is on the opposite side. Yeah. So this one's here. It'll be more convenient for doing stuff at the back.
Blowing off our bicycles.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now you got air.
Okay.
A Schrader?
Ours are straight.
Yeah, so if oh, yours are Schrader, so it'll work fine. This will be fine for airing up the tire.
Yep. Our Schrader.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But if you have Prestas, they make an adapter, so, but we'd prefer you not change the ends of these.
Awesome.
Start over again. Someone didn't press the button.
Well, it wasn't my job.
Someone.
Here, hand me this thing. It's supposed to be active. Come on.
It's a stick. I thought you knew how to use it. Okay, they've also installed this spare tire holder. What do you call it?
It's just that Agile Offroad's our door tire carrier.
Yeah, like a lot of other people make these, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it goes into the hinges. I'm going to let you explain the difference
So,
between.
so we primarily developed this for people that were running our auxiliary fuel tank. And on your Pleasure Way, you have a generator underneath there, so there's no place for a spare. And I think last time you had a spare mounted
Yes.
hitch thing. So this enables people that have removed the spare from underneath, whether the generator or our fuel system, or if they just want to bring it up here. The interesting thing is this is like a 270-degree swinging door on the 18s and down. There's an option for a 180, but this one's a 270, so it needs a little fairly complicated system. So the hinge itself is like double jointed, and so as the door swings open, the tire can't be attached to there and the door. It actually kind of pivots. Okay, and there's an idler arm on the inside. It's kind of hard to see, it's behind there. And what it allows us to do is, as you open and close the door, it allows it to pivot in a different plane.
Gotcha.
Okay, so the one thing with this is when you do close it, we would like you to kind of stabilize the door and the tire when you close it, and just close it down like that. But if you look over here, what we did is we've tied in, this is a billet aluminum piece, and we've tied into the hinge here. And then there's actually an automotive ball joint. And this automotive ball joint allows it to pivot. It's has grease in there, it won't come loose or anything like that. And then this lower one, because there can be variations between when you're bolting it on to make it easier to install, we allow this to be adjustable up and down. So no matter how your sprinter's set up, it's going to be a perfect fit.
Now I should probably mention that Mercedes does not endorse this, right?
Probably not.
Yeah.
No.
Because
They don't endorse a lot.
No, the weight of the tire, probably especially on a bumpy road.
Yeah, there's a concern about, people have concerns about them being the weight on the hinge. We would prefer that you not run more than 100 pounds of capacity on there. The rack itself isn't that heavy, but no more than 100 pounds. We've done one vehicle that's gone over 100 pounds, and we haven't had any issue with it.
Okay.
So.
Don't go on any.
Yeah, you know,
Try to avoid
if you're
the
going
up and
down,
down.
like, you know, you go down into places like Baja, a lot of our customers go down there. You've got to be careful. So it's also the location of it. If you were to have this tire much further back, now you've got a lot more leverage on it. So we're trying to minimize things by bringing it in as far as we can.
Well, it looks great.
Yeah, no, they've been working out great.
All right, super. So now we're on to the third thing, which is the jack.
The jack.
We
Yeah.
bought the jack actually a while ago, but we never went over how to use it. So John's going to show us how.
Okay.
Tell us about the jack too.
Where's your? So primarily what we made the adapter. This is an H1 Hummer jack. So these were supplied for the H1s to the military. I think they're supplied through American General. You know, so these were designed for lifting up extremely heavy vehicles a long ways. This will extend up 22 inches. On the H1, there's a hole in 4 places that allows them to index it into it. And so they can jack up the vehicle, pick it up off the ground, and replace it. It's got a huge pad underneath, so you can put it in sand or mud or whatever. And you would turn this. This has what's called a planetary gear in the end of it. This is actually similar to a transfer case. So there's gears in there, and that allows it to reduce the force. So you could lift up something extremely heavy, and it takes very, very little pressure to rotate it. Okay, so this is called a planetary gear. And they supply you the hook. Goes in here. There's a wrench, and then there's an extension. So if you need to go underneath the vehicle a long ways, and then you can either go up or down with this, and you can ratchet it. So you can be in pretty tight places and go up and down. Now what's important to know is where you're going to install this. What we've also done is the jacks, we're now supplying them with this part here fixed. This allows the jack, and they used to have like a little bit of a wobble to them, and that's how they come from the factory. We actually modify them here to where they're fixed, okay? So For the front of a Sprinter, we recommend that you use the flat on it, and then you slide it underneath. And of course, we're going to a non-approved area of where Mercedes wants it to be mounted.
Why do you say non-approved?
Well, the Mercedes tells you to put it in a very obscure, unique place that makes it pretty hard to jack up. And it's up underneath here, and it's really far up there. So when you use the factory jack, the jack's almost fully extended to get the vehicle up off the ground. And so what we do is we tell you to put it right.
And is this, what's that piece called that you guys manufactured?
So that's called the jack adapter.
Okay, and is
Okay.
that, you use that on all?
Yeah, yeah, it can be used. We use them on our Ford van conversions. We use it on all the rear axles because the other side of it is a radius. So you pretty much turn it like this, or if you want, you can ratchet it. It's actually easiest just to turn it like this. And it actually does short work on a Sprinter. They're fairly light, so it takes no effort at all to lift this up.
Does it need to be centered on that? What's that piece called that you're?
So the jack adapter, we're okay with it being like right in this area. You want to just kind of center line on there. Okay. So in this case, we're on a perfect scenario, with the floor and everything. Yeah, people never anticipate using their equipment.
Yeah.
So it's always a good idea to use it even in a,
Especially before you go to Alaska.
yeah. You never get a flat when it's like perfectly sunny out
No.
and perfect weather and the road conditions. So right now it's pretty much off the ground. Okay.
Good.
So you can see it still can go up a little bit
Yeah.
further. And then just to go down, just flip the tool over. So there's the down and the up. This is the radius part. This will fit on the rear axle tube in the back. And you want to get it as close as you can to the outside of the wheel. And we could probably do it from the back.
There it is.
Okay. So right here is a good place to put it. So it's between the shock and the hub.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Got it?
So tell us where you guys go to different shows. Which shows do you do? Or do you
Actually,
just
we don't do too
Flagstaff?
many. So we've only really done Overland Expo
In Flagstaff.
in Flagstaff. Yeah. So we'll be there next year. Yeah. So we see a lot of our customers there, whether they were Ford owners or Sprinter owners, and it's a good place.
Which cars do you do? You do Mercedes.
We do Ford E350s and 250s. We do a four-wheel drive conversion for those, and we actually do an independent suspension, which is not a straight axle, so it's independent. Then we do the Mercedes. We do 2500s, 3500s, two and four-wheel drives,
And
all of them. The dualies are 3500, and then we do a lot of motorhomes. So these are actually like these shocks here are motorhome shocks that Jay-Z's putting together. So we're proprietary shocks that we have with Fox that we've tuned primarily for the RV industry. Real heavy, 11,000 plus pound RVs.
Can you explain, because someone asked me, they wanted to know how the ride was now, and I don't know all the terminology. It was like, well, it's better.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
So it's in some ways we tell people we make it stiffer to make it ride smoother. So we control the ride better. You have almost like a sloppy suspension. It moves around a lot. And with controlling that ride, you're going to get a smoother, better ride out of it. Also reducing the sway. You'll feel more confident in driving it. As you found going around just a simple off-ramp, you might even carry more speed. You might brake a little bit later. You might wait to the last minute to make a decision on the road because you feel more confident driving your rig. And a lot of that's all done by firming and tuning the suspension to where it handles better.
And but you also were saying you're doing a solar package for somebody.
We just started to do some solar and battery systems. We're just learning to do that as we started to expand the business. We're getting into doing that. We do furnaces. Right now we're doing airtronic furnaces, and we'll be doing hydronic furnaces by SBAR. So an airtronic system is just taking in cold air, blowing it over a furnace, and it comes out hot on the other side. So that's real common for somebody that doesn't need hot water, things like that. They don't want a complicated system. A hydronic system will be a lot more complicated. It's heating water, or glycol, it's heating up the glycol, pushing it through a radiator, blowing the hot air over the radiator, but it also enables you to have hot water. You can run your hot water through a heat exchanger. So, more stuff.
What's your website address?
AgileOffroad.com. Yeah, we're getting more and more stuff up there, and there's a gallery in there, and you can go look at our Facebook. We post a lot of stuff that we're doing, yeah, good stuff.
And I get no kickback from this. No, I want people to know there's, I don't
No,
get paid on this.
no,
I
you
believe
don't.
in you guys. That's the only reason I'm doing this.
No, you've never asked us for anything, and we never expected, on your very first one, we never expected how people were looking to have this stuff done.
Yeah.
So we reached a bigger crowd, and we're happy that we can help.
Older crowd.
Yeah, a bit older. Yeah, more mature.
More experience. Smarter.
Old like me.
All right. Well, thanks, John. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.
Nope, no worries.
It was a lot of fun spending a lot of time with John, and I thank him for spending so much time with me. I know he's super busy, and I'm sure I cut into his productivity that day, but it was very much appreciated, and I hope that it helps others who are considering upgrades to their projects. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.
What did you order?
Garden burger.
And the last one you had here?
Garden burger.
Was it the best one you ever had?
Well, the best one is actually in Vermont.
Yeah, that's called a dirt burger, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called a dirt burger, and they fry it. They deep fry it, and so it has a really crispy coating on the outside, and that is the best. But this is second best.
Is this like 1A and 1B, or is this like 1, 2.5, 3?
I think you're nuts.